All the exercises we've been doing today have been designed to force our sticks right down and practice at our minimum volume over various different exercises and techniques. Up until today we've been strengthening our muscles, but now we're talking about control, using all those skills that we've learned and developed and using that control at a much lower volume, lower stick height. So we're developing a new level of control at a much smaller volume, much smaller dynamic and much lower stick height. So we've got our maximum volume and we've got our minimum volume. Now we want to dedicate a considerable amount of time to ensuring that we can play at various different volumes and how to know what stick height we should be using for various different dynamics. So these exercises, or this exercise that's coming up next, is designed to lock into our subconscious different stick heights for each dynamic level, so that when we're reading music and we see a dynamic marking, our hands automatically know what level we should be playing at. So that's what this exercise is designed to develop. Having said that, once we select a volume that's automatic, we also have to use our ears to listen to the other musicians that we're playing with, because they may have interpreted the dynamic level slightly differently, and also the conductor may have interpreted the dynamic level slightly differently. In which case we have our basis, which gives us a good platform to work on, but we need to use our ears and listen to the music that we're accompanying and adjust slightly these stick heights to match the other musicians that we're playing with. So basically we're going to start with semiquavers and we're just going to play it at a certain speed. It's a good idea to use a metronome because you tend to speed up, or I do if I'm not careful, because I'm not concentrating on speed, and so the speed just tends to build. But the faster we play, the more difficult this is to master. So we're going to use semiquavers and we're going to start at the lowest stick height, and that would be a dynamic level of pianissimo, or double P. And we're looking at a stick height of about ½ an inch. So that's our pianissimo level. And then our piano level is going to be about an inch. And then the mezzo piano is going to be between 2 and 3 inches. And then the mezzo forte level is going to be between 4 and 5 inches. And the forte level is going to be about 7 inches. And then the fortissimo level is going to be about 12 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 8 counts, and we're going to go after every 8 count we're going to raise the dynamic level to the next level, and then we're going to go all the way up to fortissimo, which is 12 inches, and then we're going to come all the way back down after every 8 counts until we're back down to pianissimo. I've selected a tempo of 75 beats per minute. Piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo. piano, pianissimo. Now we're going to reduce the count to 4. Da, 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 da. Piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo, forte, mezzo forte, mezzo piano, piano, pianissimo. And then we're going to reduce it to 2. Okay, so before we move on to the last one, try and make sure it's in stages, not in a decrescendo. I think I was tending to decrescendo as I went through, and I should be stepping down each dynamic. So this time, this gets more difficult, because we're going to do 1 count. Da, 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 da. Okay, so that's that exercise, which is really useful to developing those different stick heights for different dynamics. And the more we practice that, the more natural it will become, and we'll automatically be able to select those stick heights as soon as we see the dynamic marking. We can use any rhythm and also any speed. As we get more comfortable with this, then we can increase the tempo so that we can change faster, and it will help to lock it in. But we mustn't do that until we can really do it securely at a slower tempo. If we're not careful, it'll become a mess if we try and do the speed too fast, and then it'll be a pointless exercise. Yeah, so we can do any rhythm we want. Another good rhythm to use, and we might do this a little bit faster. Let's do this at 100 beats per minute. Is the broken semiquaver pattern, dat diggy dat diggy dat. It's a common rhythm that's used quite a lot because it's quite a nice rhythm. It's a kind of a driving rhythm that makes any piece of music feel like it's driving forward. So this is a good rhythm to use to develop this control of dynamic range. So, da 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 da. Okay, so again we can reduce it down from 8 down to 4, down to 2, and then down to 1. And it might be a good idea to practice that on the left hand as well. We don't want to get that right, let that right hand get too ahead of the left. This subject has become long overdue in this series of This week, today, we're going to be discussing dynamics. We're going to be talking about dynamics. Dynamics. Then no one's going to want to hire us. Dynamics.
Then no one's going to want to hire us because we're just too lame.
Dynamics. And that sucks. That really sucks. The movement. Oh, and later on has to become the most important lesson. Oh. Power. Dynamic power. But we'll talk about that later.